Welcome into the live stream here from McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal. That's Tyler.
What it is
with you? Big weekend. A lot of baseball.
A lot of baseball. I got some icks. I got some story to tell you about some icks.
We'll talk about some icks.
But yeah, I baseballed literally from Friday afternoon. I think we left the house at 4-ish. Did that all night. Got up at 6 the next morning. Drove to Memphis. Did my older son's team. Coached them up unsuccessfully. And then
you saw some guys committed to SEC programs.
Saw some dudes this weekend. Yeah. Really on the last team.
All pretty good players.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't as there was one team that was really good, and the other three were about all the same. We just had to play the really good team a couple of times, which sucked. But
anybody stand out?
Oh yeah, I got one. I got an ick on one.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'll bring it up here.
Bad dude. Where's he headed?
It's not a good ick.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where's he headed?
I don't know. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave him out because I don't want to pick on names of kids. But
Gotcha.
It pissed me off. I was low key hot. Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, there was some good baseball, good pitching, a lot of good pitching. And I was joking because we couldn't hit her way out of a wet paper bag this weekend. And I was like, hey boys, that's the only metal bat tournament we have of the year. We're going to wood from here on out.
Really?
Oh yeah. So the sweet spot's going from about this size to about that size. So better get it figured out.
Yeah, that's the part of the wood bat people don't realize is that there's parts of the wood bat that when you hit it, it just hurts.
You got to learn how to hit with grain. There's a lot of it's not just picking up the thing and swinging it. Like you got to know how to hold the bat because if you don't hold it correctly, it'll break. You got to know where the grain's going.
Yeah.
And so if they don't, these kids, when I try to explain that to them, they looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, hey, you know that Louisville Slugger stamp that you see? That's so it's facing you because that's stamped with a grain. I bet 99% of the people listening to the show didn't know that.
No, they
Bob knows because Bob's a big baseball guy. Yeah. But that's why those stamps are there. And now that they got all these funky bats now, right? You got Marucci, you got all these companies making these really expensive wooden bats. And they're like, oh, it's not stamped. It's not. And there's a little dot right by the handle that tells you which way the grain's going. But if you don't hit it with a grain, it'll break. And it kills me because every kid rolling into the park at 14 years old or older has a wooden bat in their bag, You got to have as many bats as you can have.
Yeah.
And there'll be dings all over that bat. So it should only be on one or two sides. It shouldn't ever be on the other side. And they got dings all over it. So they're not swinging hard enough to break it.
All right, so we'll get rolling here. Got some stuff. I'm gonna pull that story up so I can read it. I'm gonna pull it up on this computer.
All right.
Little legislation on Capitol Hill.
Let's go
with our boy Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham's pictures always look like he's been held hostage.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't know. It's funny to me. Is like I like how quick politicians flip their opinions. That's my favorite part.
I can't even imagine what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You kidding?
Go from hating people to supporting people.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it. I think this is going to be a good one.
Drew, I do like the Reds. I like Cincinnati. I like the town. It's a cool town. I like Cincinnati, Ohio a lot. I like the Reds.
Everything's awesome except for Skyline Chili.
Yeah, I've not had it. I don't think I'd like it, but I like Cincy. Carson and I've had a good time there.
Hey, when you feel like having a bowl of chili, do you feel like going and getting Burt's chili from Wendy's? Is that what hit your fancy?
All right. First of all, it's not something I ever really crave. I actually make a pretty good chili, and so if I want chili, I'll make it myself.
Easiest meal in America.
I'm probably not going to go get it somewhere.
No.
Welcome into another edition of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal. That is Tyler. Neal McCready, Tyler Siskey here with you on this Monday afternoon. It's May the 22nd.
All day long.
A little programming note, I guess. Next Monday's Memorial Day, so we'll
not be here.
We'll take the day off.
If you're going to have a McCready and Siskey, it'll be McCready powered by Rain Total Body Fuel.
No, I will not. I will hopefully spend most of that day by the pool.
I hope I'm on the boat.
Need the pool to have water in it.
I'm going to the lake. First time in a minute.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I hadn't been on the lake in a gazillion years.
We can go when you want to.
Yeah.
Got a spot, Lake Wedowee.
Okay.
Good spot.
You water ski?
No, never really did as a kid. Let me tell you what, I attempt. I'm not bad. I mean, I can do it. But I'm not like great at it, you know?
Yeah.
I like to do all the other stuff with getting pulled by the boat, but I'm not a great skier. I think I got frustrated at an early age because other people were better than me, and I felt like a failure athletic wise doing it. So I didn't really try to become good.
I was good as a kid. I haven't done it since high school, but I was good as a kid skiing.
My kids are good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, but not me.
I could get up on one. I could drop one. I was dangerous.
Kyle came in with a super chat. Thank you, Kyle. Said, Siskey, how much would you charge to give the Biden administration a real pep talk? I'd do it for free.
Oh yeah,
No charge.
I might even pay to do it. Hell, we are paying them to do it. Taxes. They wouldn't listen.
Yeah,
they wouldn't listen. They're completely checked out on reality. They are. It's abysmal.
Just common sense party. I give it just to anybody listening. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. We need a common sense pep talk. Everybody. I
mean, I won't go here now. I find it incredible that we are kind of where we are as a society right now in America.
Oh, that's unbelievable, dude.
That we are on the precipice of an election. The following is not political. This is a statement of fact. We are on the precipice of an election of an 82-year-old incumbent president who his polling data, I saw today, among people who identify as independents, his approval rating among people who identify as independents is less than 15%. I think anyone could watch this man on television and say there's a decent chance that all of his faculties are not rolling. Okay?
Okay.
His running mate, the sitting vice president, is one of the least popular political figures in American history. Okay? No, she is least popular. I didn't say she's terrible or that she's a bad person. And it appears that ticket is going to run against a former United States president who will be 78 years old. Okay? 78 years old, twice impeached.
Teflon.
He has been recently found, I guess, liable.
So pretty much every controversy that could ever happen to a human being, has happened.
He's under indictment. And I mean,
hey,
it's
the best choices y'all can give us.
I mean, that's my point. I keep waiting for someone to put down their political ideology for just a moment and go, how do we get to where that's what's running? That's the choice?
I say that all the time. That kills me. You're telling me America, this is allegedly the greatest country on the globe. That's what we say. Free. We get a chance to do podcasts.
Yeah.
Wear Bengal shirts.
Yeah.
Have great conversation. But the best two guys you can find me to lead our country are these two guys.
That's my point. And I'm sure I'm sure someone listening to that and go, you're being political. I'm really not.
No, the joke's on everybody.
The joke's on all of us. That when you walk into the booth to pull the lever, you're
damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Well, and there will be millions of Americans who will step into the voting booth on that Tuesday and vote against someone.
That's true.
It's not like there have been a few times in our country's history where people voted for someone. I mean, Reagan, Obama, those two come to mind in my lifetime. Yeah. I mean, where people were excited to vote for Ronald Reagan. People were lined up in the cold for blocks and blocks to vote for Barack Obama. Hey, let's go vote against somebody.
Is more popular.
That's not exactly inspirational.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it feels like we're headed. And
you had some people lining up to vote for the guy from The Apprentice.
Yeah. Well, even in that election, when he won, a lot of people voted. They were voting against Hillary Clinton.
They were voting against someone.
So if you're willing to go back 4 more years, it was a guy who had never been in political office against one of the least popular political figures in the modern era, who the one party just assumed that it was her turn.
Hey, did you ever watch House of Cards?
Yes.
Do you know that is based allegedly out of the voices out of Washington. People in Washington have told me that show is loosely based on the Clintons.
Yeah.
Did you know that? You ever heard that?
I have heard that, and having watched the show until the most recent episodes when they completely went off the rails.
When they went, Kevin Spacey had his little thing. That's a great show too.
House of Cards?
Yeah.
Oh, it was excellent.
One of the best shows I've ever watched.
Because it was fictional yet sort of realistic. Yeah.
Well,
that's cool.
That's a category, right? Realistic fiction.
Sure.
What's it called? Isn't there like a name for it?
It probably is.
Well, I thought you were Mr. Book guy. I thought you had I thought you were just throw me some knowledge.
I don't know what that is.
All right, hey, before we get going too much into the weekend that was, I had an experience this weekend, and I got to throw some shout out. Not a sponsor, will never be a sponsor, but if anyone is ever in the Memphis area, and in particular in the South Haven area, I got done. We had a 77-hour waiting between games yesterday, and I decided, by gosh, I want to go get some brunch. We got done at like 10:45 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had plenty of time. I probably could have came home and gone back, but we didn't play again, I think, till like 3:45 or something. So it was just me and Brock, my 15-year-old. I said,
that's that sweet spot where if you leave at 10:45, you're home by noon, but then you got to leave again around 2.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like, is it really worth driving all the way home for 2 hours at home?
Right. So, and then wasting gas and everything else, time and all car. So I hit the old Yelp button, and I found a place that was like highly rated, and I was like, okay, I'll just start driving there. Dude, it takes me in the middle of one of these rundown shopping centers from the 80s. I felt like I was in a time machine. This place was called Country Skillet on State Line Road, right behind South Haven High School.
Okay.
Like to the point we pull up, and it's just like a little bitty shop out in the middle of, like Larson's here in Oxford, like that kind of shopping center, but even older. Okay, but like you would go into that Chinese restaurant, it's just kind of on the side right there.
Yeah.
Dude, there was a church service happening in the place next to you, and you walk in there, the nicest people you have ever come across in your life are working there. They're like, they come there, and I'll start looking at the menu, and Brock goes, oh my gosh, this is cheap. They haven't changed the prices, I think, since the Reagan administration.
Oh, they're like rivals.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, we got 2. So I got a breakfast deal with pancakes, eggs, bacon, the whole gamut, biscuits, the whole gamut. Brock gets French toast and all this, eggs and all this stuff. 2 drinks. And then he's like really hungry. So he's like, they had a homemade Reese pie, peanut butter pie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And he gets a piece of that, $18.36 for both of us.
That's 2 months of rivals. There you go.
Yeah. But like $6 for breakfast. And it was so good. I mean, it felt like I was at home. The cooking, it was like I was eating my grandmother's food. It was just good.
That's good.
Country breakfast, and people were so nice. And
so shout out to the Country Skillet.
Shout out to the Country Skillet. If you're ever in the Memphis area, they're only open from 7 to 2.
Yeah.
That's it. Every day of the week. And like they knew the people. It was like Cheers, man. There was like a guy sitting at a table next to us. She didn't even take his order. She just brought him his food. Hey, he comes there every day. I mean, it was like, it was cool, man. And Brock goes, he goes, that was weird. I said, no, that's how life used to be before Chili's and everything else. Cause it really wasn't that long ago. If you think about it, I don't know, guess where I grew up before chain restaurants became a thing.
I'm trying to think about
30 years, maybe 25 years.
I mean, I can remember when the first McDonald's came to Ruston.
Well, that's fast food. I'm talking like real restaurants, like
chain restaurants.
Think about this. Red Lobster used to be when it was one of the first ones, and you were eating fancy if you were going to Red Lobster. I mean, you were splurging.
I'm trying to think in Ruston what chains were there. There was was it Long John Silver's?
That's fast food.
Okay.
I'm talking about like Chili's, O'Charlie's, TGI Fridays, Outback.
When I was a kid, none of those
Bonefish Grill.
None of those places ever went to Ruston. They probably still haven't gone to Ruston. But like even in Monroe, which would be the closest big town, it was a long time.
Yeah, I mean it's
till those kind of places showed up.
That's kind of the cool thing about Oxford is, downtown there's not any, right? So I enjoy it. I think it was really good. But all right, so baseball. We got some baseball hicks. All right, so funny story. Friday, I go drop Aaron. We all pack up and go. Knox has his games. The Oxford Orioles playing at Tupelo again. It was like a weird time, and I knew we were going to be there all night. So me and Brock went to go get something to eat while they did their little warm-up or whatever, right? And I come back in. We sit down, get a chair, and sit down. And the 5 minutes after I'm sitting down in front of the fence, the opposing coach walks all the way across the field and finds me and says, "Hey, we're not going to beat any of your icks this weekend, are we?" I started laughing. Ha ha ha. They play another game right before the start of the game. The other coach from the other team, so a wholly different team, comes all the way over to me and says, "Hey, we're not going to do anything to beat icks this week." So the icks segment is rampantly running through the 7U baseball. But I did have an ick from 7U baseball.
All right.
I got one.
Okay.
I got one from 15U. All right. So this had nothing to do with the actual 7U. We're walking in the tournament, and you pay your gate fee, which they're very proud of, by the way. But you pay your gate fee, and it never fails. It's always, "Hey, I'm coach or player." Coach comes in, doesn't have to pay, so he keeps walking. So he comes through, and he's like, he was walking behind me very fast in the parking lot. He's in a rush. And so it was not even a 7U coach. It was either 8 or 9U or whatever. But he's chirping at his kid, but it's his kid. He can chirp however he wants to. And I go to pay. Well, he comes running through the gate and goes, "Coach." And she goes, "Excuse me, sir. Can you sign this? You got to sign that you're a coach." And he goes, "I've never had to do that before. Why do I got to sign as a coach now?" And he starts like making a scene about signing the book. "Hey, asshole, sign the book. She's just doing her job.
Would have been easier just to sign the book.
Just sign the book." But he and this lady, she's probably mid-60s, sweet lady. She's there every time. I actually, it reminds me of my grandmother, God rest her soul, and looks just like my Gee, looks just like her. And so sweet lady, and he's over here berating this lady about having to sign his name on a book. Just, "Hey, asshole, sign your name." And I may or may not have that. I think I left out the asshole part. And he started entering again. I said, "Hey man, why don't you just sign your name and go warm him up?" And he kind of looked at me and he signed his name and went and warmed him up. But that's just,
he decided he didn't want any of that action.
Well, I wasn't. I was in flip flops. I was not in. I was in shoes. I wasn't in the area to do that. So that was one. And then I had one other ick.
Okay.
And this is kind of, it's an ick, but it needs to be probably talked about if you have a 15-year-old son that's still playing. 15 is this funny age when it comes to quote unquote travel baseball, right? Is the casual baseball player really has stopped playing.
Yes.
It is.
This is this way in travel soccer too.
Okay. So it's time to either, you're not playing for, you're playing for fun, but you're doing it for exposure or
development or whatever.
Exposure, right?
Yeah.
So it's a funny age.
With rare exception, you're not playing anymore because mom or dad wants you to play.
Correct. You're playing because you're on your, the kids that didn't make their high school team or whatever, they're not playing anymore, right?
Right.
So we're playing, and there was only 4 teams in this tournament, right? And one of the teams is like super all-star team. They got players from Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi. They got players from everywhere. And so I'm coaching third base, and we're terrible. We're like the Oakland A's of 15U. We got just enough. If we roll out there and the things hit just right, we may win a game here and there. But we're not any danger to win the World Series.
You're not winning half.
Depends on the draw.
Because the A's aren't getting half. The A's are not threatening 500.
It depends on the draw. If the draw was like we had to play this super team twice in a row, right? So that didn't bode well for the old Giants this weekend. All right, so there was I had to coach third base, and there was a particular young man that wouldn't shut up. And he's out there, he's got pearls around his neck. He's got every shield ever made. He's got to look good when he's in the box. He's wearing a hoodie and a mask and everything else, and he wouldn't shut up. And what I mean by wouldn't shut up is he was disrespecting the game. He was being so overly cocky that it was disrespecting the game. And for me, and you can call me old man yelling at cloud and all that stuff, a big part of this deal is learning how to play the game the correct way. So it'd be like a routine ground ball to shortstop. Well, instead of just throwing a guy out, He did the old perfect game, load it up, crow hop, and throw it as hard as he can to first base to make it a bang-bang play. Like, he could have thrown the guy out by 30 feet. Up by like 10 runs in the last inning, stealing bases first and third. You know, stuff like that. And and when I could hear him, and because I'm on coaching third base, and he was playing in the infield area close to me, just wouldn't shut up. And he was talking shit about my players. Rude. Now, they couldn't hear him, but he thought he was having it was like a bully fest. You know, like, you got a bunch of.
This is a kid who's committed to an SEC school?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just going to let it go.
Committed to a school.
I'm just going to let it go.
He's committed
I'm not
to a school.
It's 15 years old. I still feel bad about even talking about it a little bit. Now, the coach of the said team, great guy, to the point to where when that happened, he turned around and apologized to one of our coaches, said, "Hey, I did not tell him to do that." Like, he's actually trying. They were great.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is just one kid. It's not, this is one particular kid.
Yeah.
Coaches were great. Organization's great. A lot of respect for them, all that stuff.
But the parents aren't great.
I don't know the parents. I don't know them.
I'm just betting.
The kid's not from anywhere around here.
Okay.
All right. I do know. I can tell you that. And I know a kid on that team. Great kid, great family, love him to death, known him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But to the point to where the things that he was saying, like, there were some girls that were there, and he's over there going, "Hey," talking to the guy, "Hey, who's that? Who are those girls over there in the front row? Yeah, I'd like to do something to that."
Oh, no.
And
that's where you're coming off my field.
And so
you're
his coach couldn't, in his coach's defense, couldn't hear him.
Okay.
Couldn't hear him. I could hear him. And so he was very, and it was more of stuff along those lines and saying things that crossed the line. And the umpire heard him. And I went out there to change pitchers for the 87th time I went out there. And I said, "Does this guy ever shut up?" He goes, "No." I said, "And you know what the umpire, this is umpire now. You know what he said to me? He's about my age. He goes, 'You know the difference between our age and their age?' And I said, 'What's that?' He goes, 'He wouldn't be doing that if this was 25 years ago, because he'd be wearing about 3 of them in the ear.'"
Yep.
And it'd be over. But now you go to jail if you do that. But I just.
Oh, listen. I'm in the minority with and you know me. I'm not old man yelling at clouds. I can't stand pimping the home run. I can't stand the throwing the bat and stuff. I guess different time, different age. Well, I would have never wanted a teammate to do it, because I don't want to follow that to the plate, and I'm the one wearing it for your stuff.
Yeah, baseball has karma gods.
I mean,
it does.
I was a hit it, put the bat down and run.
So he gets up to the plate. It's like a 3-1 count. It's a strike. He thinks it's a ball. He does the old bat flip, walk to first base, and the umpire calls it a strike. And then he's got to stare at 15 years old, stare at the umpire like stuff. It was just, never stopped. This went on for the whole day yesterday. And so as the day went on, I progressively got more pissed as the day went on. And then I got to, and then we had a guy was stealing a base, and then our pitcher was holding the ball. He was on first, and he just wouldn't pick him off. He was just holding it. There's no pitch clock.
Yeah.
And the guy was getting inch, and then he yells, "Throw the ball," to the pitcher. And he ends up stealing second base because we couldn't do anything right this weekend. And I had a player of mine that went up about 15 points in my book. And he got to second base. He walked over there and said, "I don't want to hear another fucking word out of your mouth." And I went, "That's my guy."
So y'all are playing against Fernando Tatis Jr.? Is that who it was?
Apparently, yeah. Just minus $50 million.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, that's the other thing. It's like, hey, guys, just chill out, because it just really, I don't know. But from a coaching standpoint, if you got kids that are doing that, you got to cut that shit out. That's being a respectful human. Like,
that's my point.
That's the stuff like baseball. Look, I can teach you the basics and fundamentals, but you got to be talented to do it. I mean, baseball is not a lot about coaching as much as it is about culture and the right way to do things. And that was bad mojo.
All right, you won some money on Bruce Koepka.
I did. His name's Brooks, though.
Brooks, I meant.
All right, so
that's me, Mr. Golf.
All right, so the PGA Championship. I'll probably be the one talking about this, and you'll probably just nod your head. But Brooks Koepka, we talked about a little bit earlier, was probably going to be my golfer that took over for Tiger when that's the guy that I've been pulling for.
Mm-hmm.
Went to live, kind of lost, don't get to see him as much, but he is a dog, man. That's his 5th major. Like, he's in rarefied air. And he's done it all in the last 6, since 17. What's that, 7 seasons now? I ended up, I saw him, he started grinding them out on Friday. So I put a live bet in him Friday afternoon about halfway through his round. I got him at plus 2,200. I actually put one on him and Rory. I think I got Rory at 2,800 because my other guy stunk. And so I got the hit at plus 2,200. So that was awesome. But what was crazy, I know you didn't see this because you didn't watch it. So the 16th hole on Saturday, Corey Connors was leading the tournament by like 2 or 3 shots. And he hits one. He's played great the whole tournament. And he flares one out. It was a very difficult course. He hits one in this trap on the 16th, in the bunker on the 16th. And he shanks it out of the bunker. And he really didn't shank it. He topped it. And instead of getting it out of the bunker, it was in 9-iron, very easy. Like, pros don't miss this shot. I mean, they're freaking pros. That's something me and you would do, right? And he plugs it into the face. He's halfway through the bunker. He hits a low line drive skull and plugs it into the side of the bunker, into the face of the bunker. He got lucky that it was actually in where the sand met the grass. If he had plugged it in the sand, it'd have been a 2-stroke penalty, but he still had to drop it. Ends up double bogeying and never recovered. He dropped shots and that was it. And then Hovland and Koepka yesterday were going down to the wire. Hovland damn near hits it. He hits it in the same bunker, damn near in the same exact spot that Corey Connors did the day before, and did the exact same damn thing and plugged it into the side. I mean, I'm talking about from, 10 feet away where it's easy. I mean, you can get it up almost in the exact, almost in the exact same mark that he did it the day before, and then ended up taking him out and basically secured Brooks. So the 16th hole bunker was very good to Brooks. But my opinion on Brooks a little bit, I see him a little bit different as all these other live guys. He wasn't wearing his live stuff yesterday. Like, Phil Mickelson, all those guys wear their little logos and stuff out there. He was still repping Nike. He looked like a normal golfer yesterday. And my opinion on live's changing a little bit. I think it's gone the way of the woolly mammoth. I think they've had their run. And it's just turning it into a debacle that it's not really a competitor at a PGA Tour, even with the money. So I'm just like indifferent, but it's good to see those guys out there and competing. And even to further the debacle, I had to bring this up. I had this to talk about last Thursday. I know you didn't see it. So the live, they went to the CW, right? That's the network that picked them up.
Yeah.
The ratings are so bad that they stopped reporting the ratings 2 tournaments ago. And so finally, about last weekend before the tournament, they finally had the tournament where they actually had the guys that they paid for were all in contention. Because usually some random guy you've never heard of wins these live tournaments. So they had DJ, and you had Bryson's up there, Patrick Reed's up there. All these former PGA Tour greats are in contention. And with 4 holes to play, going down the back stretch, the CW just switched over to regular schedule programming. Just out of the blue, dude. They didn't even see the finish. Like, they just went over to like Malcolm in the Middle or something.
I just don't think there are enough. I mean, if you watch a golf tournament, not necessarily talking about the majors, but if you're watching a golf tournament, you're probably a pretty big golf fan. I don't know that there's enough golf fans to support 2 operations.
Oh, there's not. But the thing about it is, like, I think they thought that they were going to have more guys leave because of the money.
Yeah.
And like Brooks has even said, like, he hasn't flat out said it. He was hurt. Did you watch any of the Full Swing stuff on Netflix?
I've not.
He's on an episode.
Yeah.
And he's down, dude. Like, and that's part of the deal yesterday is the story of him coming back. He didn't think he was going to be able to play golf again. And so he kind of took the money.
Sure.
Because he didn't know if he was going to make it back. And if he knew that he was going to be healthy again, I don't know if he'd ever left. Because the legacy of chasing the majors and things like that is what drives him, obviously. And he's the perfect live player, though, because he doesn't give a shit about any tournaments but the majors, and basically, or the week before the major, because he's getting in tune. So he'll start playing. Bet him the week before a major if he's playing in a tournament, whatever. But that's kind of how he does things, and he's the perfect player for Liv. But I just think that's hilarious that they finally had the tournament to get them the ratings, and they just switched over to 70 show or some shit on with 4 holes to go. People were pissed that we're actually watching it. I've yet to watch a Liv tournament on TV, and you know how much I love golf.
All right, this is not on the sheet. This has just popped up on some social media. I'm curious to get your thoughts real quick. This is a life thing.
Okay.
We're talking about presidential candidates.
Okay.
Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, is running.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Scott is 57 years old.
Okay.
He's never been married, and he has no children.
Okay.
Does his lack of a family, in your eyes, disqualify him as a candidate?
No.
Hurt him as a candidate? Anything?
Not for me.
See, I think it does for me.
I mean, I'd have to listen to the guy.
I'm not judging the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you don't have any stake in the game.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, not that. I mean, I'd have to listen to him and say, if he came out with some crazy stuff that I said, that's because you didn't. I just haven't heard anything that would say that. That doesn't. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'd have to hear the guy.
Okay. All right.
And then lastly, on the golf thing, I know you saw this, because if you didn't see this, then I quit. Michael Block, the great story from yesterday.
I mean, I've seen about it after it's over.
Have you seen the movie Tin Cup with Kevin Costner?
I'm aware of the movie. I've never watched it.
Are you kidding me?
I've never watched it.
What have you been watching? Tin Cup's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Here's the thing.
I mean, it's right up there with, like, it should have won Best Picture in 96 and didn't.
Here's the thing. When you mention the word golf, for me, I immediately sort of check out. It just doesn't do it for me.
It's a great flick. You should watch it. All right. So Michael Block, the PGA Tour, PGA teacher, I guess, instructor, PGA, whatever they call him. He's got this all shucks move, and it's just undefeated, man. But there's some of the all shucks I'm probably going to be canceled for making this comment, and we're going to go to 0 listeners. The all shucks, there's only so much you can get away with that. It's getting a little bit, it's working for him, so keep doing it. It's a great story even without the all shucks. But to hit a hole in one, okay, and tell me that everyone there saw it go in the hole but you, come on now. Like the guy standing next to you, your caddy, the other caddy, everybody at that hole saw it go in the hole but you.
What was interesting about the hole in one is that usually a hole in one lands on the green and then rolls in.
He dunked it.
And his just went straight in.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that I've ever really seen before.
The only shot I've never had a hole in one. The longest I've ever had hole out from the fairway was like 125 on a par 5 in Greenville at the Robert Trent Jones par 5. And I dunked it. So it'll jack the cup, and it will. If you do it, it'll mess the cup up.
Wouldn't he have heard it go in?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you hear it hit the pin, but like, I don't know, with all those people there, I don't know if you can hear or not. I've never played golf in front of that many people, but telling me that you walk, all right, so this is where the all shucks moment. Okay, that's one thing. I was like, come on, man, you got to know it went in. Rory McIlroy tells him it goes in. He walks 25 or 30 yards down the tee box, and then, so he's been told 15 times that it went in the hole. And he looks over the crowd and goes, did it go in? Like, he's playing it up a little bit.
Okay.
All right. And then
is it possible that he just was off in cloud 9?
Yeah, but the all shucks, I'm all for it. The story is great. I love it. I'm tuned in. But, okay, I'm telling everybody, hey, you got a little bit of a talent. You got a little talent. Okay? You got a little bit of talent. Everybody's acting like this guy just came off the driving range and never played golf before. You know, people don't realize this. He's already played in 2 tournaments this year. Everybody's acting like this was his big PGA moment. He played the American Express. He played in the American Express and the Farmers Insurance Open in January. So
okay.
He's already played in 2 legit PGA Tour events this year before this. So to act like this was some guy coming off the street somewhere and never played golf before.
This wasn't some cat coming off the Ruston Country Club
Correct.
course.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so, but the cool thing, I'm all for it. He got 2. It's working for him though. He's got 2 straight sponsors exemptions.
Yeah.
But he won't be able to last very long in the PGA with these deals because he was hitting like, hey, he made them, but dude, he can't hit it very far. It's gonna be a struggle for him.
Brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel. 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
Oh, you want to get into this deal or what?
Which one? Are you doing the NFL thing?
Let's just do the.
All
right, we're probably going to be talking about this for a minute, so I don't want to go forever today.
All right. That's what she said.
You're going to get me fired at home. I'm going to be, hey, you got any couches up here I can sleep on?
That won't be a problem. All right. This is from On3. Credit where credit's due. Pete Nakos, I believe is how you say his name. He writes, a draft of congressional legislation is being circulated throughout collegiate stakeholder groups that would establish an NIL clearinghouse, which would have the power to fine anyone, sue anyone, and ban anyone from participating in college athletics. Drafted by the office of Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican from South Carolina. The legislation has been titled the College Sports NIL Clearinghouse Act of 2023. A source provided On3 with the draft, which would basically establish another version of the NCAA to preside over name, image, and likeness activity. NCAA lobbyists have long pushed for a piece of federal legislation that would give oversight power in college athletics new markets of endorsements and collectives. The clearinghouse would also be given an antitrust exemption, another major item on the NCAA's wish list. As the drafted bill states, the NIL clearinghouse shall carry out enforcement actions for any violation of this act, including by levying fines, imposing penalties, including suspension or a permanent ban of an individual or entity from participation in varsity intercollegiate sports competition for a period determined by the NIL clearinghouse, and commencing civil actions and seeking all appropriate legal, equitable, or other relief, including damages and injunctions. The purpose behind the NIL clearinghouse would be to monitor compliance, establish and enforce penalties, and provide educational information to athletes. The legislation provides some protections to athletes, including prohibiting institutions from limiting playing time or making changes to scholarships as retaliation for an NIL deal. Yet, universities would have the power to prohibit their athletes from entering into agreements that would violate state law or the student contact code. Institutions would have the right to provide each enrolled student athlete a list of entities athletes would be prohibited from entering business relationships with. The clearinghouse would provide any information to the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice, and the Attorney General of any state. The College Sports NIL Clearinghouse Act would also give immense power to institutions and conferences while taking a major shot at taking down NIL collectives, which have surfaced at nearly every Power 5 school over the last 22 months. The race in college athletics has morphed into stockpiling the most cash to distribute to current players so recruits know what they can make once they enroll at the college. According to the bill, there would be nothing limiting the ability of an institution, conference, or athletic association to prohibit a third party from providing a student athlete with a recruiting inducement or compensation for participating in a sport. One final paragraph. Civil suits the NCAA clearinghouse would like to bring against athletes or third parties could be prosecuted by the Attorney General. The drafted bill states the Attorney General can bring a civil action for a violation of this act in any appropriate district court of the United States.
All right. Let's break this down for a second. I told you before we started today. I guess that was Friday that comes out. And I see the headlines that we have a bill introduced. I get really excited. I click it and I read through it. And this isn't it. Like, that's what we've come up with. Like, this is what we've come up with. Like, this has nothing to do with even addressing the problems. Like, we're over here talking about fixing this, and you're over here talking about doing something completely different. Like, where were you in the room? Like, who brought this to go, hey, I got this great idea. This is what we're going to do. We're going to create a whole deal to do this. They can't sue us. We're going to get rid of collect. Like, it doesn't fix any problem. Like, it's a whole different set of issues. It's like we're talking about fixing chicken, and you're over here baking a cake. I don't even know what we're doing. This was the most, like, that's what we've come up with?
I've been telling you this for the longest time. Congress does not want to fool with this. I've told you this for a long time. I'm sourced on this. Congress does not want to fool with this.
It's dead on arrival. I don't even know why. Like,
this is someone.
It's a waste of time.
This is someone this is Lindsey Graham, I'm assuming, or someone in his office doing a favor for someone. Someone's got some tickets coming their way at Clemson games or Carolina games or something. No, this isn't it. I don't even know what it is, but this isn't it. So you have a basic problem in Washington as it pertains to this topic. The Democrats want the student athletes to be employees.
Yes.
And to get the protections that are commiserate with being an employee.
Right.
The Republicans want no part of that.
Correct.
In any shape, form, or fashion. And there is no middle ground. The schools don't want them to be employees.
Correct.
The NCAA does not want them to be employees.
Correct.
And in this one, this isn't siding with Republicans over Democrats. This is a failure of people to be able to take a step back from political correctness, to take a step back from, well, this is how it should be. Like you always tell your kids, right? There's an ideal world and there's a real world.
Yep.
Okay? And in the ideal world, we're all even, kumbaya, hold hands. In the real world, it ain't nothing like that. It never has been, and it's never going to be. No matter how idealistic anybody wants to be, no matter how much DEI and all that stuff you want to put out, people are different, and it's never going to be that way.
Yep.
But here's the basic problem that everybody has with this. It's why I think the only answer is time is going to sort this out. And I'll touch on this in a minute. I'll give credit to, what's the writer's name? Pete Nakos. He mentions this, so I'll get to it in a second. If you make them employees, can Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Michigan, can they afford to make their football players employees? Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Okay. At all of those schools.
Every one of them.
But what about men's and women's golf? What about women's soccer? What about the track and field teams? What about the equestrian team, or at Ole Miss, the rifle team? What about volleyball? What about
swimming and diving?
What about schools that have swimming and diving, gymnastics,
softball,
all of that stuff? They have to become employees too. Okay, well, here's your problem. You run a business at Quick U. You and I were talking about this earlier. You might accidentally at some point bring in a spot that turns out to be a financial drain on the business. You'll quickly rectify it. But you'll never intentionally go, okay, so here's what we're going to do, guys. We've got this branch of Quick U that's making a bunch of money. So what we're going to do is we're going to form a new branch. It's not going to make any money. It's going to make us feel good. It's going to look good. And we're going to do it. No. But the schools have to do that because of Title IX. If there was no Title IX legislation, at all the schools I just mentioned, they would go, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to keep playing football because it makes money. Those 86,000 people that come into Jordan-Hare every Saturday, we still want them.
85-214 grind.
We still want them. Men's basketball, you know what? We'll do it. But, hey, let's be cool with the budget, okay, guys? At a few schools, all right, we'll play baseball, but now look, this travel stuff that we're doing, back off. Let's just stay around here. Everything else is canceled today. Peace. I mean, I'm sorry, but
love you,
but that track and field complex, we don't need it anymore. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
We're
now.
not playing volleyball. No more gymnastics. Swimming and diving, way too expensive. Shut it down. Equestrian, no, we're killing all that. Golf, no golf.
We still have golf.
They're not going to play golf. They're going to kill it all. But they don't because of Title IX.
That's correct.
So you can't treat something that is a business but isn't a business suddenly like a business.
Yes.
And so if you want, that's the part that nobody gets. And they come back with, and this is the whole, well, it shouldn't be this way thing. Well, if they wouldn't pay the coaches so damn much money, and if they wouldn't pay the administrators so damn much money, there'd be more money to go around. I get it. Ideal world, real world. In the real world, the head of Coca-Cola makes a hell of a lot of money.
Yes, he does.
Would it make sense in some figurative world for the head of Coca-Cola to give himself a 600% pay cut? Pass that money down? Probably would. That's how he got to be the head of Coca-Cola. And so, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the real world, ideal world thing. And this is where it's not touched on.
Kodo says right here, and this is, the 3 highlights I got out of this article. All right, and I'll go ahead and bring this up for you, Kodo, is the NIL clearinghouse, what they're trying to develop is unsuable. They made themselves above the law in this bill, so you can't sue them. So that was like point 1 that they made, is you can't bring any lawsuits against them. All right, so they're what do they call it? Antitrust, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
All right, so you can't do that. So they took that out. Getting rid of collectives is 2. And then the funny part for me, like I don't even know, like this told me everything I needed to know about whoever came up with this bill. There's always parts in those articles and this information that you go, okay, this guy didn't know what he's doing. Hey, you can't hold any, you can't punish a kid by taking their playing time away. Now, how in the hell, hey, you going to force me to play somebody? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to prove that his playing time was cut. His playing time is cut because he sucks. As a coach, this is the one thing I really loved about college athletics as opposed to high school sports or even what I'm doing now. Do you know how we get paid, Neal? And when you're a coach, do you know how you get paid or why you get paid?
To win.
To win, okay? There are no politics when it comes to college sports and playing time. We're not playing a guy because we think we like this guy better than the other guy because he's a cooler person.
In fact, there's a lot of times where the kid that you really like is the one that doesn't play.
A lot of times. You're playing the guy that gives you the best chance to feed your family. And so whoever said that is, come on. I mean, I lost everything when it comes to that. And the employees thing will never get fixed. And the most important thing about this is this 24 election cycle is about to hit full speed.
Yes.
And they're not going to be fighting this thing, through the summer. If they don't have anything by the summer, it's dead on arrival anyway. But it was something that would have to be done quickly. And the very last part of that article that I found very fascinating was it said there is no plan B. And they think that plan B is to let the NCAA to completely fall flat on their face.
Plan B, in my view, is that there will be a scandal. Tom McMillan, a former congressman who is the CEO of Lead One Association, recently told On3, and it will compel Congress to act. It just always works that way. We don't want that to happen. We would rather do this preemptively, but plan B is there's going to be a crisis. You have a situation where you really have unaccountable NIL collectives and student athletes without a transparent market.
So
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, there's a lot of language in there that's just.
Here's what's going to happen. Okay? Kids are going to be promised money that they don't get. They're going to go public about it. The market's going to, at some point, I don't know if it takes a year, if it takes 10 years, if it takes 6 months, or if it takes 20 years. The market at some point will figure itself out. It's going to work itself out.
Yeah. And to me, this
and we've talked about this, not to interrupt. We've talked about this so many times. As these seasons come and go, okay? We talked about this. Kentucky's going to play South Carolina. They ain't both winning.
Nope.
So as the seasons come and go and the wins and the losses accumulate and people have a chance to take a step back and go, well, no, wait a minute. You guys said that if we raised X million, you'd win
X Games.
X Games. You didn't. Is it going to lead to coaches getting fired so they bring in the next coach, or does it lead to people going, this is stupid? And on the flip side, hey, you said if we gave you this much money, you'd win, and by God, you did. Here's it is.
More.
Here's more.
Yeah.
It's something is going to happen, and
you're going to create a further separation, which is what you and I have talked about since the beginning. You're continuing to keep a bigger separation between the haves and the have-nots.
But they're only so many starting in next year. There's only 12 teams can make the playoffs. 12. It's a finite number. It's not 13. It's 12. And so, if you're one of the schools that's making the playoffs year after year after year, it's probably worth it. If you're one of the schools that isn't, you have a decision to make at some point. Is it really worth investing in this, or should we invest in this, this, and this, or what should we? All of it's going to work itself out. So I have a lot of respect for the Chris Beards of the world when they come on shows like mine and say, this is still
new,
really new. We're still figuring it out.
Well,
it's been less than 2 years.
Because I know how this fan base is. So, because I've lived here and I still live here. Let's talk about Ole Miss. They've done a great job in NIL, in the collective.
Yes.
I think, and I'm being dead serious because I would like to, I think the world of Walker Jones. I like him a lot. I've known him for a while.
No, I think given where we are in the whole development stages of NIL, I think there's no question that Ole Miss is ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job since Walker's taken over. I love everything they're doing, how they're doing money, all that stuff. With all that being said,
I'm glad I'm not him, by the way.
Oh, me too.
Gosh,
bless his heart.
Mm.
All that being said, let's throw out some possibilities here.
Okay.
What does the collective number look like, or what's going to football come this fall? Let's say you go to New Orleans and you lose to Tulane.
Okay.
And then you come home and you lose to Georgia Tech. And then, it's a football game.
Yeah, call it the chaos scenario.
The chaos scenario.
What is
and then you got to go play Alabama, LSU, and Arkansas.
What does it mean for football?
What happens to that collective dollar?
It goes down. It becomes very difficult for people to raise money.
Or they start moving to basketball, whatever it is, right?
They shift the money to other things.
And so my point was, is like you end up creating a bigger separation from a have and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because Alabama's going to be Alabama, Georgia's going to be Georgia, but that second group that's fighting to get to the first group, if they don't, and we're in a period right now where if you don't have a great year to show that you're moving forward with the collective money where you're at, I think it's going to take a step backwards in some programs. The South Carolinas of the world, the Kentuckys, the Ole Misses of the world, the Arkansas of the world, that team that's fighting to get to the top. And then all of a sudden, the same thing, Texas A&M is going to be going through it, right? You're trying to get to that top level, and if you're not, there's going to be a separation.
Doors Rules is exactly right here. At least I think he is. If he's wrong, I'll be wrong with him. He says what is going to happen is people are going to see the SEC signed a $1 billion TV deal.
That's good.
Basically, why, paraphrasing, am I giving $1,000 a year to an NIL, I think is what he's insinuating.
Yep.
On top of tickets, getting to games, hotels, gas, food.
What the schools?
At some point, people are going to say, wait a minute. Y'all are making so much money. Why don't y'all pay them? And that's when the schools go, because they have to be employees.
That is,
and we don't want them to be employees. And so this is why when people are like, just fix it. Well,
it's not that simple.
It really can't.
But
if you could find a way legally, and maybe there's a way, okay? Maybe there's a way to get a federal Title IX exemption and to separate football from the rest of your athletics program and make football players employees. Now, I'm no legal expert.
That would be hard. Yeah.
That sounds very complicated.
That's very complicated.
But perhaps there's a way to reach some form of an exception, an exemption, and do it that way, at which point a lot of people could, okay, cool. Now,
the way to do it,
how you manage all that is beyond me. But
the way to do it that would never happen, though, because I looked at it, because that was to be honest with you, with that right there, what you just said, because these schools are making money, right? So
sure.
SEC's getting a $50 million check this year. Big Ten's actually getting like $54 million or whatever.
But that money's not going directly back into football.
I know, but here's my point, right? So you're getting this check, right? It would create you would have to, in order to make this work, the employee thing to work, what we're talking about, and everybody this utopia thing, you would have to say, hey, you're going to have to give up your check and it go into an NCAA pool. Not happening.
No.
But that's what it would take.
Yeah.
That's the money that's there.
Again, we're doing my fantasy world, real world.
Real world, fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
Can it work? Sure. But this is what it's going to take. Hey, Big Ten, I need all your schools to hand me your $54 million check. Huh? Hey, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or check that. Arkansas, need you to send me back that $50 million check. We got to put it towards. Hey, now look, I know South Alabama can't give you anything.
Well, their argument would be we're already doing this for you in basketball. Like, I mean, I keep waiting for the Power 4, 5, whatever it is, to go, wait a minute, I got an idea. Let's let this basketball tournament be a moneymaker for us. Let's play our tournament. No. Screw Creighton. And make that first round matchup Michigan Ole Miss.
See, I'm a big East guy in basketball. So
but you understand my point.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, you understand my point.
I do.
Hey, I mean, like you mentioned Arkansas. Arkansas could go, we don't really have to play North Texas. Let's play North Carolina. Let's get our money.
Yeah.
And don't tell me it wouldn't make money. Of course it would. It's a tournament. So, I mean, look, none of these things that everybody talks about so far, and a lot of smart people, well-meaning, it doesn't make sense because there's too much stuff around it. There's too many things. It's too convoluted. It's too complicated. It's not a simple, let's just
I think the only thing, and we'll finish this part up right here. I think the only thing that when I was clicking on that article, well, if they just want to do it's not a fix, but it would be a better fix. When I clicked on legislation, NIL committee and all that stuff, I was expecting, and they addressed it a little bit in that article, I was expecting to see an article that said, hey, these are the rules regardless of what state you're located in. Because I think coaches and things like that just won't be on the same playing field. But you got a half dozen states or 15, 20 states, and a lot of them that have big schools in them are playing by a different set of rules than everybody else. And just put us on the same rules. So can our coaches be involved with the collectives or not? Some states coaches, we can't do anything.
Right.
Some coaches go do the fan fundraisers for the collective. It's totally, every state would like to do that. Who wouldn't want their coach to show up at their collective golf outing to raise money for your collective? You'd raise money.
Sure.
Sure. There's things that just put everybody on the same rules. Austin came in with a super chat, said, I can tell you what's going to happen. Fans get poor. I think you and I have talked about it. I think we're going to see a decline in attendance this fall. I would be shocked.
I don't know if it'll happen this fall, but I think it's coming.
Yeah. I think it's progressively going to.
I think it's coming. It's coaches are going to really have to be able to market themselves, their products. It's going to have the teams that win, they'll still pack it.
I can tell y'all the bottom line is not going to change now. If your attendance goes down, the ticket prices are going to go up. They're going to end up with the same bottom line. Yeah, that's just what happens. If you want to see ticket prices go down, that's when.
But here's the thing:
they're going to get your money.
You're right. But here's the thing: if you keep raising ticket prices and inflation goes up, things that you can't even control in an athletics department, right? I mean, Keith Carter can't control the cost of gas at the pump at Kroger.
Common sense party can, though.
Well, we could. But if it's, get $4 a gallon to go to the games and food's expensive and the hotel's expensive, and then you raise ticket prices on top of that, well, at some point, something's got to give.
Yep.
Because either they're going to say, I'm going to fewer games so that I can give to NIL, or, hey, you guys got to figure out that NIL part on your own. Because maybe those people are going to the games, not necessarily because the outcome of the game means that much to them. It's because, hey, our friends go. They tailgate, or that's where they see family or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, and it's not, look, I go to games, and on all these campuses, there's these. They might not be like the Grove or whatever, but like at LSU, they've got, miles of people that are getting together. All of those people are not at that game in Baton Rouge to see the Tigers play.
They're there for the experience.
And so if you offer a lot of those people, hey, you can either give to a collective, or you can keep coming and doing the jambalaya and gumbo on they're going to pick the jambalaya and jumbo. They're hanging out.
And you said it. It's been a while, but I know you've said it on this show before. And it's a big trickle. Everything you do is a big trickle-down effect, right? And the first thing that's going to happen is, hey, I can't go to as many games this year. So I'm telling you, I'm not coming to that home game versus Mercer. I'm not going to that home game versus Tennessee, Chattanooga. I'm not coming to that home game versus,
it's any
group
family.
of 5 team.
It's any family, Tyler.
I'm picking this 4. I'm picking these 4.
What are the first things in a family when you have a budget? You have a budget, and you start having to make decisions, and you get unexpected expenses. Okay? What are the things that get cut? Well, you cancel your vacation. That trip to Disney doesn't happen. Maybe you drive instead of fly. Maybe instead of going to the beach, you just go to the lake for a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's what families do.
That's it.
So to expect that not to bleed into the college athletics world is completely unrealistic. And I know people in college athletics, they all know this. They're not, most of them at least, are not morons. I mean, they fully know that there's a decent chance that this hits some sort of a crisis point, which gets back to my point, which is I know it frustrates people when they're like, what do you think? What do you I'm almost like this breathless anticipation. I'm going to give them some answer. And my answer is like, it's going to work itself out one way or the other. That doesn't mean it's going to work it out amicably, but it's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
People aren't going to put $8 million into basketball NIL for a program that struggles to make the NCAA tournament.
No.
They're just not. They're going to realize, okay, that's not working.
I think I'm getting basketball season tickets this year, by the way.
You better hurry.
Yeah, I think I am.
But he's an example, right? I mean, this is what's going to happen on these campuses. We'll get off this topic. We'll use Beard as the example because dude's impressive. Okay? I mean, I know he had the thing in Austin and all that, but he's come here and is marketing the hell out of his program. And I don't know how long it's going to take. Might take more. He's talking about doing it right away. I'm kind of like, you're going to have to show me there. But because I covered the last 2 years of Ole Miss basketball. It was rough. It was not a good product. Nothing against the people. It just didn't work out. You were there. You saw it. They lost a lot of games.
I just like college basketball.
I do too. They lost a lot of games. He's going to win. I don't know how long it's going to take, but he's going to win. Emphatically. No question in my mind. And he's going to be really good about doing the hobnob stuff and getting out and hitting people up for money and all that stuff in a way that they don't feel like they're just getting their wallet robbed. Those people, with rare exception, have to make decisions about where the money goes. When you take the family vacation, you don't typically go, hey, we're going to do a week at Disney and we're going to do 10 days at 30A. Well, you pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Typically. And so if you pick basketball, where does that money come from? Because
I think I'm being on when it comes to basketball. Well, you're talking about Chris Beard. I know this is so not basketball season, but I want to talk about it. I think I'm getting a deal by buying season tickets as compared to how much I'm going to want to go and pay to go to the game.
Yeah,
because I'm not an Ole Miss fan. I am a basketball fan.
But you really like college basketball, though.
But I like watching quality basketball, right? So when I went to Ole Miss games this past year and I'd take my boys, it was, hey, we're going to go see a good team play. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to go watch good basketball. Yeah. And or a tournament team or something, coming to town or whatever.
Alabama's coming to town. Auburn's coming to town.
I want to go watch quality basketball.
Sure.
And I think there's going to be quality basketball on the home court
I do too. And given how good the league is, I think you're going to see a lot of really good games. Yeah. I mean, Buzz Williams isn't going to forget how to coach.
No, he's fun to watch.
Calipari, the guy at Missouri's a really good coach. Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, Eric Musselman. I mean, it's a good.
That's pretty much who I went to go see.
Rick Barnes.
Those are the games I went to. I went to every one of those games you're talking about.
It's a hell of a league. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I agree with you.
All right, get any more bills paid before we finish this thing up?
Yep. We are brought to you each and every week by our friends at Walk On Sports Bistro, where they put everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. So they opened a store in Columbia, Missouri just today. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine, po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers and fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. It won't be long before we're tailgating. They can take care of your tailgating needs at Walk-Ons. Inquire about their family and friends bundles, their tailgate platters. You can also order online at walkons.com or on their convenient Walk-Ons app, especially if you live in Oxford or the Jackson, Mississippi area. Stop by your local walk-ons, and please tell them how much you appreciate them sponsoring this show. And it's getting hot outside. Summer is literally right around the corner. So make sure that air conditioner is in tip-top shape if you live in the North Mississippi/Memphis areas. Get in touch with our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, same great products, same great people, same great services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or that area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. And if you live in Hernando, South Haven, Olive Branch, Memphis, that area, get in touch with our friends at Southern, 662-429-4429. And again, a reminder, we're always brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel. 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, and zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. So check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
I'm rocking the Harvest Grape today.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, it's the rainstorms. Like, I'm low-key addicted. I mean, they're good. Because I don't know why. I mean, it's just every flavor is really good. But they don't give me the same crack as the big cans. So next batch of aluminum cans, we got to work on the crack.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not as good. They don't have the
same sound.
Don't have the same crispness of the crack, but they are good. No, it's good stuff. Finishing this thing up, Jim Brown passed away. 9 seasons in the NFL as a running back before he went off to become an actor and do all other things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he led the NFL in rushing every single year but one when he got hurt?
Seems like I did know that.
And
I knew unquestionably one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I knew a lot about Jim Brown stuff, obviously growing up and everything, and as an actor, Any Given Sunday, the whole deal, right? And so that was the last movie that I liked he did. But I started reading a little stuff about him. Is Jim Brown, why is he left out of the discussions when you talk about the greatest athletes to ever play the game, ever play, period? He's never in the discussion. His name never comes up.
Probably because he played a long time ago and we didn't get to see him, and B, he didn't have as long of a career as the people that we typically talk about.
I mean, this guy was All-American lacrosse player.
Yeah.
He literally, I was reading this stuff. They had to change the rules of lacrosse because of the way he played.
Because he dominated it too much.
I mean, like, there was a rule that you had to have the stick moving the whole time because he would just apparently keep it close to his chest and just run everybody over. I mean, that he changed the rules of lacrosse. He is in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame as well. I mean,
there are people who believe he's the greatest lacrosse player ever.
He finished 5th in like the decathlon or something.
Yeah,
He was the second leading scorer on the Syracuse University basketball team, or is it University of Syracuse, whichever one it is?
Syracuse University.
He was the second leading scorer, averaged 15 points a night in basketball, was a track and field star, lacrosse star, and one of the greatest football players to ever play. I mean, but he's always left off those discussions.
Again, it's probably just a time thing.
Yeah, but dude, that's impressive. I mean, he played 9 years, had 1,000 yards every year, but his one hurt year, he ran for like 960 something. I was looking it up, read it. Averaged, I think he's the only NFL running back to ever average over 100 yards in every game he played.
Oh, ever.
I mean, there's some impressive stuff there. Was a nine-time All-Pro, played 9 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, and shut it down, left at the top. Because he had other interests, obviously.
Yes, there was a lot more to him. He became, like you said, an actor, an activist, led a very influential life off of the playing field as well.
GJ says it. And I read this in some of the articles that they think he may be the best lacrosse player to ever play the game.
Yeah.
And it's just, but he's gone. You didn't realize how old he was because he never looked that old. Like in Any Given Sunday, he doesn't look that old. I know that movie's old now, but he aged pretty quickly, and I guess his body took a beating. I asked you before this, and I was going to tell the listeners of this because I'm sure everybody has a Netflix account. And if you don't have a Netflix account, that's because you're spending too much time playing Oregon Trail on the floppy disk on your Google machine. The Conor McGregor documentary on Netflix. I encourage, if you have a son that's in athletics, they should watch that. And not about, fighting and all this stuff. And Brock and I were having this conversation on one of our long car rides this weekend. He's like, Dad, I didn't realize. He goes, Conor McGregor's kind of crazy. It's like, what are you talking about? I thought he was referring to, there's a scene where he does go crazy and throws some stuff. And he goes, I mean, mentally, the way he was mentally, I said, no, son. So that's where it's different. His mentality, he's like, I've never seen that in a human being. I said, I've seen it a lot. The great ones.
So that's the part about Jordan, Kobe.
That's what separates them.
Yeah.
It is. Your mentality.
Gretzky.
Yeah. And I know I've said this on here, but it's a great time to repeat it.
Bubby Brister.
Yes, Bubby Brister. When I went to Alabama, I looked out there and I was like, dude, there's 85. Every kid on scholarship was good enough to play in the NFL. But why didn't they? What separated this guy from this guy? And it's if you just break it down to its core, it's their mentality. And that's the mentality of greatness. Doesn't exist much anymore. I mean, it's discipline. It's your confidence. And that's what I was I was all fired. That's what I like about Brooks Koepka is his mentality. Your mentality and how you approach life. I mean, hell, if it's just a marriage or if it's your business or whatever you're doing, but your mentality and how much that you want to push through things and when things don't go through and how you respond to adversity and having some confidence and self-belief in your skill set and what you're doing. That's a powerful thing, man.
It's hard to have.
And
it's not easy.
And when people of that magnitude have a regression, and it's usually because of their mentality.
I mean, I've talked about this before. I mean, I'm not saying that he's one of the all-time greats. He'll be a Hall of Famer. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will be like, why do you do some of the stuff you do? And the honest answer, he didn't give it, but people around him did. Because he's terrified that if he lets that chip get off his shoulder, that he won't be the same guy.
There's truth to that, though.
He's terrified that if he doesn't play with that disrespect, where he feels like he was disrespected, right? Where he didn't get a scholarship offer until late in the process, and he only got a scholarship offer because the kid went pro, and he didn't start, and it was the Supersonics, who are now the Thunder, were ridiculed for taking him as early as they did. If he didn't put all of that, if he ever let that stuff get off the chip off his shoulder and go, hey, I made it. I'm MVP. I'm an all-star. Won't be the same dude.
No.
Right? And so I can't relate to that because I'm not wired that way. Neither are 99 point whatever % of us. I mean, I can sort of try to relate to that, but I don't have that dog mentality. I don't think like that. If anything, I struggle with on a personal level, for me, like, confidence is just something I don't possess. Right? I don't have it, and so you can't. If people go, well, you should have it. Well, I can't create it. I can't make it be. So I get it. People are wired differently. That's why those cats like that not only are. Look, I always like to talk about Kobe because I think Kobe's fascinating. There were basketball players who were every bit as good as Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Physically, I mean,
that's why. Yeah.
Kobe was special.
Yeah.
I mean, just have Kobe just been just kind of a laissez-faire.
But he wasn't the only elite. He's not the only elite talent to play in the NBA.
No, he's not the only 6'6" guy who can jump out of the gym with a good jump shot.
Right.
No, no, not even. There's a bunch of those cats. I mean, they're all incredible. But, I mean, he would have played in the NBA had he just been an average dude because he had that skill set. But what made him elite is the mentality. Jordan was that way. It was his competitiveness. I mean, Michael Jordan was, 6'5"? He was a great athlete. He could jump out of the building. But, again, you're playing in a league full of people that can jump out of buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, Tracy McGrady probably was a better athlete than those guys.
And here's what you're going to get out of it. And this is why you should have, you should watch it if you don't have a son. It's a great mentality, because here's the one thing that I probably got out of it the most, or I hope my son got out of it. I didn't get much out of it, but that's just how I am. But the guy's made $600 million selling his whiskey, Proper 12. He's made $180 million doing a fight. I mean, he's made a bunch of money. He's on a yacht and all that stuff. And he says it, he believes in hard work. And that's the thing that I wish that every young player, there's a huge generational thing that's taking place in athletics, in my opinion. And it's in every sport, probably in the last 25 to 30 years. And that is the value of hard work. Let's take baseball, for example. If you want to be a really good baseball player and you want to go play college baseball or Major League Baseball and that stuff, you don't just show up at practice and that's when you take batting practice. Man, you get up, you take cuts. Before you go to sleep, you take cuts. You work on your craft all the time because there is no substitute for hard work. There is no substitute for reps. It takes hard work. If you want to be good in something, you have to work at it.
Yeah.
All right. Because once you get to the higher levels of your sport, everyone is talented. Everyone is talented. So you have to, if everyone is on the same plane, you have to separate yourself. And the only thing that's going to separate yourself is hard work. And I think a lot of times, let's take baseball. Okay. Everybody in here, you've been to the park even when you were younger. There's always that kid, right? That park kid that's bigger than everybody else, that's talented, more talented than everybody else. And he just naturally goes out there and is better than everybody else. But as he gets older and testosterone starts catching up and growth spurt starts catching up and everybody starts catching up talent-wise, you have to have something to continue to separate yourself. And that's the mentality that I hope everybody gets out of that show, and I hope my kid gets out of it, because there is no shortcut to the top. There is none. And it's like I told my guys yesterday after we got our shit kicked out of us all weekend. All right. We didn't hit worth a shit. All right. We were terrible.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, I get that sometimes. It's kind of ingrained in my head.
Yeah, I know.
But you can't just expect, or whenever we practice again, because we practice once or twice a week, you can't just show up and take 50 minutes of batting practice and let's go into the next game and hope we start hitting the ball.
I don't know, man.
You have to freaking work on it.
I think at that level, what you're describing, the coaching is so paramount.
It is.
I think in those tournaments, you can tell who the great coaches are and
let me tell you who didn't make the all coaches. Let me tell you who didn't make the all coaches list this weekend. But you get my point. The all kidding aside,
I do.
It really bothers me when people, they get to that level and go, man, I just, I couldn't do it. No, bullshit. You didn't work.
Yeah.
You were in there playing video games instead of working on your pitching mechanics outside and working on your balance and drive, you were inside playing Xbox.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off you made.
Right.
So don't complain when you walk 45 fucking batters in a row. All right? Don't get mad.
That's a lot of
Mom
pitches.
and Dad can't get mad when you get pulled after an inning and a half.
That's 180 pitches. That's irresponsible on your part to let him walk 45 straight innings.
We did let one kid go a little bit long this weekend. I was a little upset, but I thought he was doing a really good job, and he seemed to be okay. Let him throw about 90.
I mean, what you just described, though, 45 walks.
Not if you hit him on the first pitch, boss.
Okay, that's true. That wouldn't be a walk. That'd be an HPP.
Okay, well, combat it. But that's all I got.
All right. We'll be back Thursday. One more this week. Next week will be a 1-week show because of Memorial Day as we get rolling into the summer months. Thanks to everybody for being in the stream with us. Thanks to our friends at Rain for making this show possible. We will see you guys on Thursday. For Tyler, I'm Neal. Take care.